let them eat cake.
Hey, take the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people.
Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. John Atakis is in the chat early. Good morning. That's awesome. You know, for you, Everett was Pony Boy. Pony Boy was like on top of the mountain, but Pony Boy, you're getting some competition here. You got people, vying for that first position every morning, 6:30 a.m.
John Atakis is out front. Pony Boy's in the lead. He's coming out
in the
around
lead.
the front.
Carlito's coming in the back, and Carlito Tiffany from YouTube will be checking in just a moment.
Triple Crown.
Triple Crown, yeah. The Kentucky Derby. And speaking of, no one else is chatting. We know you're there, though. Oh, Buddy Easel, she's there too. Oh, that's great. All right, guys. So glad you guys have joined us. We've got a fun one for us today. If you're not a subscriber to Rumble Premium to get into the private chat, you really should, because we're really taking this conspiracy theory to a whole nother level. I mean, we've been going over Bigfoot, we've been going over UAPs and UFOs this week. Farazer, good morning. Good to see you in Boise, Idaho. And so we're going to have a little bit of that today. We got a little insider, these pastors that went to some Airbnb in Tennessee to hear about the disclosure that's coming up. So we'll talk about that a little bit in Rumble Premium. So that's a free ad for Rumble without them even paying us 15 cents. So anyways, just me, PN Northwest, any beautiful day. I'm guessing that's another beautiful day in paradise. Carlitos, good morning. Welcome. Carlito Tiffany on YouTube. Good morning. Pony Boy, there you are. Good morning. Pray the Rosary Daily. Good morning. Oh my goodness. See, now you guys are all in. I love it so much. And I know why you guys show up bright and early. Yeah. And race for that top spot. You guys are here for the simultaneous sip. And all you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, a chalice, a stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind, and fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee, and join me now for the unparalleled pleasure of the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip. And it starts right now.
Well, I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle. That's a transitory thing.
Is infrastructure fun?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why are conservatives bad, Mommy? Because I thought we were supposed to conserve things.
The border is closed. The border is secure. The border is closed. The border is secure.
States. Details on that, Jackie. You're gonna have to let me get back to you on that.
Who will be held accountable for this? This embarrassment.
Again, I take full responsibility.
And we are in a strong, we are stronger economically than we have been in history.
The big guy. Fire pants on fire.
Where do you get these?
I go on deep searches.
Is this some 4chan stuff?
Yes, I go into deep searches to find all the great clips. Oh, I thought we'd have a little giggle just looking back at the last administration to see what it was like. So we do have some pretty big news. It's good news. We're going to talk about it a little bit. So there was a primary in Indiana last night. Now, there was a primary in Indiana last night. And in Indiana, they had, let me pull this up here. Get the right one. So in Indiana, they had a redistricting fight a little while ago. So if you remember, I think it was, last summer? Yeah, last summer.
It's not the one that's been in the news.
Huh?
It's not the one that's been in the news recently.
It's not the Virginia redistricting. Okay. So Indiana is a red state. It's Trump country, as they say. And they had a chance to do a redistricting and eliminate 2 Democrat seats, House seats, very easily. If you look at them, these are little blue dots in the city that they were giving to Democrats.
Okay.
And the Republicans refused to do it. Okay. They didn't want to. It was like they refused to do it.
They didn't want to upset the apple cart.
I don't want to upset the apple cart. So Trump really took him to the woodshed on this one. And in fact, here, let me show you. Let me start with this video here. So this is kind of a video explaining the redistricting fight.
Indiana senators voting against President Donald Trump and his request to redraw congressional maps in Indiana early. The Senate voted 31-19 against the maps, and WHAS 11 News was there. More than half of the Republican delegation voted no. WHAS 11's Travis Breeze and senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton pick up our coverage of the historic vote in Indianapolis.
19 ayes, 31 noes. This bill has been defeated.
A no vote after 3 hours of debate on Thursday. Republicans in favor of the maps saying they can impact what happens in D.C.
The morning after the election in November and find out we lost the House of Representatives by 1 vote. If I knew that I did that, I would feel horrible.
Democrats say the only motivation is from outside Indiana, and the maps would challenge the sanctity of elections.
Instead of merit, we are saying that we are prioritizing a letter next to a name on a ballot with predetermined election results predicated on party affiliation.
With protesters chanting outside, many Republicans also spoke against the plan.
This map, drawn primarily by somebody not from here, gerrymanders so aggressively that it splits precincts across the state.
Ultimately, more Republicans voted against it than for it, and the measure failed. I asked Senator Young a question in the hallway after the vote.
Is this going to lead to any divisions within the party?
I don't know, but who are you with?
WHAS 11 in Louisville and Southern Indiana.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I don't know. The other side won. We don't tend to be too upset about it, so our side.
Do you think that this chamber and the leadership of this chamber did all that it could to try to get this passed?
No, they did all they could to kill it.
He said they did everything they could to kill it. Do you have any response to that?
I do. Typically my style is to let people vote like they want. Come with a yes or come with a no, which is exactly what I did this time.
Bray says he is prepared for some backlash from Washington, D.C., but hopes it is minimal. He feels his chamber dealt with this issue by the rules and with integrity. Republican Governor Mike Braun said after this vote that it has consequences, and he will work with President Trump to challenge those Republicans who voted against this map. That will assumedly mean primarying them up against candidates who more staunchly support the president. In Indianapolis, with senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton, Travis Breeze, WHAS 11 on yours.
Thanks, Travis. Appreciate that report.
Yeah.
So the Democrats, you notice how the one Republican goes, the other side won, and we don't seem to be too upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay. Now, here was in December of last year, one of these Indiana state senators got on and he was talking about, it's just not fair. Like it's not okay to have outside influence in our election.
Look, I think there are many states that allow,
and that the White House is making a mistake.
All the mid-decade review and allow you to redistrict. Certainly in Indiana, they can do that. But I think that the White House really mishandled this, Mike. The reality is that Indiana state legislatures are paid roughly $24,000 a year for a part-time job. Mm-hmm. This isn't their full-time capacity, which is a good thing. Right. It's a good thing. But when you begin getting doxxed, you begin getting all sorts of threatening robocalls. I think for a lot of the members, it was a closer vote at first, but they broke away because it's like, this isn't the way we want to do this. And 31-19 wasn't really that close of a vote. Right.
So 31-19, a lot of Republicans voted against redistricting.
Whoa.
So we've got Pony Boy in the chat. You see the White House posted the video of Cinco de Mayo and posted a video of people getting deported by Captain Cinco de Ported. That's pretty funny. Dickle Rick 005, Richard from Spokane here, bright and early drive to school. Oh man, I'm so glad you made it. That is awesome. And good luck in school today. He's studying to be an electrician, if I'm not mistaken. Good job to have. All right, so here's Benny Johnson posted this bloodbath in Indiana. Weak Republican Indiana state senators who refused to redistrict are dropping like flies. Remember, not every senator runs every cycle. So these are all the senators that were up for re-election, and this was their primary. Trump endorsed candidates winning in landslides. So the scorecard. So here's where the districts were before. So if you notice, they had a nice small little Republican district and a nice small little, Democrat district and a small little Democrat district.
Okay.
Easily overcome to be a completely 9-0 state with this type of redistricting map. And that's what they voted against. Okay. So come back here to the District 19, win, 39, win, 1, win, 6, win, 41, win, 11, win, 21, win, and 23 as of last night was still a toss up. So this is Fox News this morning reporting on it. This is a massive political shakeup. Some of these Indiana state senators were 20-year incumbents.
Oh, geez.
Now, Mike Pence pulled out all the stops. This is Mike Pence's home state. He campaigned hard for these guys. Guess what? Bloodbath. Total primary bloodbath.
Political shakeup in the Hoosier state. 5 Indiana Republicans backed by President Trump have all defeated, dare I say, walloped GOP incumbents in primary races overnight. We're going to take a closer look at the power of the presidential endorsement.
Plus, a pause on Project Freedom to get ships safely out of the Strait of Hormuz as the president.
We'll talk about that later. Total trouncing. So this was last night, a little bit before some of these votes had been called. So I'm not sure where the toss-up landed, but the staging of this, you've got to listen to the staging of this. The staging of this from the left and from Rhino Republicans is this was pure revenge. This is just revenge. You just stand up against Trump and he's just going to come out against you no matter what, right? He's against all the norms of politics where rhinos just bend over and take it, right? He just does not like that.
Okay. 8 senators who defied him and helped defeat his redistricting effort there last year. Let's get right to CNN's Jeff Zeleny for the latest on what you are hearing and where things stand right now.
Well, John, President Trump has been seeking revenge, and tonight he is getting it. He has had a successful effort in at least 3 of the Indiana State Senate primary races, and one of the Trump challengers has failed. So right now, the scorecard that the White House is watching very carefully is 3-1, and the Trump-backed candidates is leading in the other 2. What are we talking about here? Why are we talking about the Indiana State Senate? Because the senators, the Republicans who have served for nearly 20 years, each one of them who lost, voted against the president's redistricting plan last December. They said that they did not believe it was appropriate to redraw those maps. The White House has said, we are going to throw you out of office. And that is
this wasn't even close. 61-38
is what is happening this evening. It was a dramatic campaign, millions of dollars spent. And the White House is winning this revenge war, if you will, tonight. Only one.
That's how you know it's a talking point. This revenge war, if you will.
On Trump backed a challenger, Senator Greg Good, is holding on. His race was a bit peculiar. He was running against 2 people named Wilson, but he is holding on. So for the White House tonight, one bit of good news in this challenging midterm election year, John.
Yeah. Somewhere a political strategist making their money tonight for putting 2 people named Wilson on the same ballot. Senators who
yeah, seriously. Oh, so Trump just absolutely trounced him. Now, here's one of the state senators that lost. This is Travis Holdman. And again, this messaging that this is pure revenge. This is just Trump coming out against his political enemies. I remember when Donald Trump talked about Mitt Romney, he goes, I don't like people who hide behind their faith, right? I don't like people who try to pull this whole, I have to turn the other cheek no matter how bad you screw America, right? That's not Christian. He does it. He does the Mike Pence turn the other cheek move when what you're doing is you're laying down to absolute tyranny. I mean, do we really want the Democrats in charge of the House?
How do you feel?
Well, I have one lesson for people. Revenge and retribution is not a Christian value. And that's what this was all about. And I'm not bitter about it. It's just a fact. And there's life after serving in the Indiana Senate. And I'm going to find out what that's like.
And I'm going to find out what that's like. Yeah, you are. Revenge and retribution are not a Christian value. But so is justice and accountability.
Yeah.
Right? So is justice and accountability. Other big news out of Ohio last night, Vivek Ramaswamy won his primary. Another just obliteration of Casey Putish. Now, if you followed, and we didn't follow this on the show very much, but I'd see a lot of clips coming out of Ohio with Vivek Ramaswamy. And the one thing that Vivek Ramaswamy says that just drives the MAGA base crazy, clearly wasn't enough to keep them from voting for him, is he's really pro H-1B visa and getting people from outside the United States to come do tech jobs and things like that. Now, in a vacuum, I get it. We want the most talented engineers and the brightest software designers to come to America. The problem is the H-1B visa thing is an open door to the kind of fraud that we've exposed on this show through people that run daycares that are bringing in teachers and, you know, their own little research analysts and stuff like that. So he kind of his messaging on that, he's clear about it, but it's like, you've got to, anytime he mentions it, if I was his consultant, I'd say, you've got to say, but not this type of H-1B visa. You've got to be really clear about the talented and most brightest, but not an open door for anybody to just come in and take a good American job. You know, if it's an $80,000 a year software job, that needs to go to an American. If it's a $5 million a year software job because it's some savant when it comes to LLM code, take them, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, go get the best of the best. But when we're talking mid-range, just butts in seats in the cubicles reviewing code, that can go to some software engineer graduate somewhere in the United States. You know what I mean? And we definitely don't need to import people to work in hotels. No. So, but other than that, I mean, absolute victory in Ohio. He's definitely on the path to become the governor there, which is really good thing. A really good thing. Carlite says, Pony Boy, that's hilarious. I saw that. Yeah. Pretty fun. Okay, so Scott Jennings was kind of following up with CNN last night. This is kind of their later in the evening. Well, this is Anderson Cooper 360. It's late on the East Coast. It's not super late here. But he's talking about this Indiana election, and he's like, listen, people who have come out against Trump that have tried to play this little middle ground thing and pander to the independents, and I can get votes from Democrats, it's not going well for them. And we've got some upcoming primaries. Thomas Massey has a primary in 2 weeks.
He calls the shots in the Republican Party, and if you go against that, he will pour his wrath out upon you, and doesn't typically turn out well. As Harry Enton has said before, go against Trump in a primary and you wind up in the grinder. And that's what happened in Indiana. To me, what I was looking for tonight was the forward-looking lessons here. For instance, what's going to happen in Kentucky in a couple of weeks in that 4th congressional district where Thomas Massey is the one congressional Republican who has been the biggest thorn in Donald Trump's side. They have poured millions into that race, and a lot of people are wondering, could he withstand a challenge from a Trump-backed challenger there? If you look at what happened in Indiana tonight, and you're Thomas Massey tonight, or you're anybody else in a primary right now where Trump's on the other side of you, you got to be thinking, this is a bad night for me. But bottom line is, there's always plenty of money in politics, and it's always a president's priorities and prerogatives.
Against it, and what a petty little punching down bully to wander over here and slap around a bunch of state senators to feel better about himself. I would be embarrassed if I were the president of the United States.
Do you think that those sorts of rules apply to, say, Barack Obama when he engages in the Virginia redistricting referendum?
Hey, listen, he didn't. He got involved in a ballot measure. He didn't go poking and picking on little individual dog catchers and everybody else.
Well, he was picking on the Republican congressman who represented their constituents.
Yeah, I love the double standard. Oh, he's punching down. He's such a bully. Yeah. It's revenge and retribution. It's not a Christian value. But guys, that's called weaponizing your virtue against you. Yep. Van Jones, he's probably a Christian. I don't know. Whatever. The shoe never fits the other foot, right? They can do anything they want. They can be as degenerate as they want to be. They can murder babies. They can drone strike citizens overseas. Yeah. They can do anything they want. They can go visit pedophile islands and then blame it on Republicans. They can do anything they want. But the moment the Republican gets into the gray zone, put you down. You're such a bully. I mean, the Department of Justice under Joe Biden was weaponized against Catholic priests.
It felt like
is that not punching down? Is that not Joe Biden and Merrick Garland being bullies to just guys that are out there trying to serve their local parishes? Right? Hello? Like, it never fits the other foot. Here's Pete Buttigieg, Booty Juice, if you watch the intro. Here's Pete Booty Juice on with Raggedy Ann, otherwise known as Jen Psaki. So again, these are two absolute degenerates, total degenerates. So when Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, within days, there was a video that surfaced of Jen Psaki presumably having an affair in one of the, I think it was one of the federal government windows. There was a video of her, like I said, having an affair. Total degenerate in this, you know what I mean? Like, and obviously booty juice, like, yeah, okay. But they play this like, again, weaponizing the virtue of others. And they're really playing up this revenge tour, and it's not what Republicans want. And Republicans are coming over to the Democrat Party. They don't want to support Donald Trump.
You've talked before about sort of what politics could be, what we all hope it will be again. I mean, these Republicans in Indiana, you probably don't agree with them on much. I don't agree with them on much in terms of their policies, but they knew it was coming if they stood up to Trump. They stood up to him anyways. They decided, some of them at least, that there are worse things than losing an election. I just wonder how different you think our country and our politics could be if more Republicans.
There are worse things than losing an election. There's not a whole lot of worse things than losing an election to Democrats that are absolutely committed to the destruction of the United States and your way of life. Right. Not a lot of worse things than that.
Republicans had that in them. And do you think, you've been traveling out there and the country, that there are more of them out there?
I do. I mean, I see it everywhere I go. We have been going to a lot of more conservative areas. We did a town hall in Oklahoma. It was great. We had about 2,000 people come out. I was in Marjorie Taylor Greene's old district where we had hundreds of people come out, and the Democratic candidate overperformed by about 25 points. I'm headed to Montana soon, and there were a lot of people on all sides of the aisle who were fed up with the role of money in politics and taking action to do something about it. So I do believe a different kind of politics is possible. Look, Democrats are always going to disagree with Republicans. I'm always going to disagree on a lot of issues with Republicans. But if we're all actually talking about what we believe in, that is better than Republicans repeatedly having to feel pressure to either lose their career or do something wrong because the president is demanding it of them.
So Republicans get pressured to actually vote the party line. Have you ever heard of the Democrat Party? Okay.
The vote blue no matter who.
Vote blue no matter who. Fetterman's about to get run out of office. Party? Okay. Tony Boy says, yeah. And they'll say, no, oh, no, we didn't have wars under Obama. Those were just kinetic military actions. Yeah. Okay, so Shipwreck and Crew, Shipley, he says this: the GOP incumbents who lost in Indiana refuse to recognize this one single imperative. The race in the House is to 218 seats. Democrats long ago gerrymandered states they control to near extinction of GOP districts. There are no GOP districts in New England north of New York. None. Wow. But yet, there's 45% Republican voters up there. Yeah. There are only three Republican districts in Illinois. Even before the most recent gerrymander in California had been redistricted to the following numbers. In 2002, it was 30-23. In 2012, it was 38-15. And in 2022, it was 40-12. Wow. But yet California is at least 40 to 50, 49, 48% Republican. The efforts by the Democrats to defeat the GOP House delegation, including Indiana's, back into the minority with a loss of committee control. Indiana refused to help. The Dems don't stop. Now Virginia, 10-1. Now, obviously, we're waiting on the Supreme Court's ultimate decision there. But hello, they just gerrymandered that state to nothing. And New York is threatening to redistrict yet again. And it is 19-7 already. This wasn't a Trump thing. It was about keeping Hakeem Jeffries out of the speaker's chair and Dems out of all the committees. How about Maxine Waters as chair of the Financial Services Committee? How about Jamie Raskin as chair of the Judiciary Committee? There are many others just like that. Indiana's Republicans were okay with that happening. And that was the message here. It wasn't about revenge and retribution because you stood up against Trump. It was because you're letting America go to the communists. And we just have to say it like it is. They're communists. Their ideology aligns with communism. It's what it is. No, but it's not very Christian to fight the communists. Okay. So here's the challenge that we have here. Donald Trump's CERM polls show his his approval rating coming down. And that's because there's a big chunk of voters in the middle. These are your independents. And a lot of times these are niche voters. These are people that have certain issues. You're anti-war, you're pro or anti-abortion, but you're, got some other issue. Like these are these little middle ground voters. They're independent voters. And a lot of times during a big campaign, they'll tag onto something. So for example, in this last campaign, there was a lot of MAHA voters, Make America Healthy Again voters. This is the Robert Kennedy Jr. constituency. These are crunchies, organic people. They oppose Roundup and glyphosate in our food. Totally reasonable. And they'll vote for abortion or for a candidate that's against abortion purely based on, are you going to fix the food? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they get hyper focused on these little individual issues. And obviously, now that Trump's running the whole country, not every single pet issue can be addressed. Although I will say this, Donald Trump addresses all those little individual issues better than any other president we've ever seen. I mean, he'll fight on every front if it's possible. But at the end of the day, you have to make a decision one way or the other. And so, like, for example, with the glyphosate executive order, allowing the continued use of glyphosate, that really upset the MAHA voters. Totally reasonable. However, the MAHA voters typically are upper middle class suburban women, and they don't really understand that if you get rid of glyphosate, you've got these food deserts out in America where people only eat processed food. Like, until you fix the supply chain, you're kind of stuck in that.
Well, and farmers are in a hard spot.
Farmers are in a hard spot. Yeah, they can't exactly immediately move to regenerative farming when you've got 40,000 acres that you're working.
Right.
So here is Harry Enton talking about the numbers, and this is kind of what trumps up now. Now we've gotten through the primary. So for actual Republican voters, the people that are in the primary, Trump's endorsement means everything. But when it comes to independents who did not vote in the primary, that leaves a big fat question mark for the general election.
People who are dragging down President Trump's approval rating, we are talking about a very important block for the President of the United States. That is Republican-leaning independents. That is what's going on. Take a look here. This is the difference. Trump's approval rating at this point in terms. Independents who lean Republican versus those who are just Republicans only. Look at this among independents who lean Republican. Back in term number one, he was at 73% at this point in term. Down he goes. An absolute collapse now. Just 53% of independents who lean Republican now approve of the President of the United States. That's very different from Republicans only. It was 83 at this point in term number one. It's 83% now, but that's a 20-point decline in his approval rating, nearly at the 50% mark, with a group that traditionally has very much been in the president's camp.
This isn't just indies. This is independents who lean Republican, people who in theory should be predisposed to like the president there. Talk more about the shift we've seen actually now this time from just a couple years ago.
Just a couple of years ago. Take a look at this shift. Oh my. GOP leaning independents on Trump. In the 2024 election versus Kamala Harris, he got 91% of that vote, nearly 100, near uniformity on that one. But down he goes, down into the deep blue sea, now at 53% on the job approval rating. John, I'm not that good at math, but I believe that is a 38-point drop. A 38-point drop from where he was in the 2024 election. As I said, this is a core group for Donald Trump, and they are waving, adios, amigos, goodbye. We no longer support you, President of the United States. We are going in the other direction. We're deciding to disapprove, then approve. He's just above 50% in a group that overwhelmingly supported him back in the 2024 election.
That's 18 months ago. I mean, this is a very brief period to drop that much among a group that is part of, frankly, your essential coalition there. So what does this tell us? What does this group think of maybe the congressional elections coming up in 6 months?
Yeah, okay. So you see this 38-point drop here, and you're a Republican member of Congress say, oh, my God, I hope this doesn't affect me, because if it does, a lot of those swing district congressional members right on the Republican side will be waving adios, amigos, goodbye. But you know what's going on here? What's going on here, by the way, this is a 6 and an 8. What we're seeing here, choice for Congress, Republican-leaning independents in the 2024 election. Look at this. They supported Republican candidates by 83 points, but now it's 68 points. That's a 15-point drop again in only 18 months' time. These are not numbers that Republicans win with. These are numbers Republicans lose with. And so what we're seeing right now is that collapsing support for President Trump among Republican-leaning independents absolutely finding its way down ballot, making its way down ballot. And if these numbers hold for the 2026 election, which is occurring in only a little bit about 6 months' time, depending on how you exactly count 6 months, that would be absolutely devastating for Republicans.
Harry, say I was a viewer of this show and I
Yes.
had a lot more questions about the midterms taking place in 6 months. Where could I go to get some of those questions answered?
You know, I'm glad you asked that, Johnny Berman, because it turns out that I have a slide for that. Where can you go? You can ask.
Go to the peasant's perspective.
CNN.
Go to the peasant's perspective.
Go to the peasant's perspective.
So I don't know. I have a couple things to say about these numbers he was just posting, because what is the volume? I'm sorry. What's the volume of the votes that they were talking about for these independents? Because if you, depending on how you slice it, these numbers can mean more or less. I mean, really.
I mean, is it 10% of the total?
Right.
It's probably closer to 20% of the total. Here's the thing, though. Republicans have this. This is a significant challenge with Republicans. The big tent Republican Party includes constitutionalists, which don't agree with anything either party's doing. It includes libertarians, which always pretend like they don't want anybody to do anything. And so those guys, when it comes time to pick someone on the ballot, if there's not a libertarian candidate, they typically are going to vote Republican. But if they're a fiscal libertarian, if they're a social libertarian, they'll typically vote Democrat. So when it comes down to the actual election, they're going to pick red or blue.
I know, but he's acting like, well, for example, the Harris number. Nobody was going to vote for Harris. So that 90% number that was, versus Harris, it was like, well, duh. I mean, it should have been 100.
Until you actually know what the options are, that kind of stuff is like these independent voters default to, I disapprove, especially if you're on the libertarian, I disapprove of whoever's in power.
Right. They're contrarian typically.
They're contrarian no matter what. And the Republicans will oftentimes suck them into the big tent.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in 2024. That's what happens every election cycle.
Right. But when they were saying like, well, during the Harris campaign, it was 90 and now it's, lower. It's like, well, yeah, because it was always going to be lower than 100.
Yeah, go run Booty Juice and see if the numbers switch back.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's why. Alan Dershowitz explains this. The Democrat Party is not a big tent party. Now, it's a big tent for degenerates of all flavors. Okay, so if you're degenerate, you'll find a home in the Democrat Party. But if you're a normal, everyday, red-blooded American who wants to work for a living, the Democrat Party is not really for you. Or if you're a reasonable, rational person, the Democrat Party is not for you. So yes, a poll like that that's grabbing people who are just like, Mama taught me to always be independent. You know what I mean? And so I'm going to do that. Then you end up in this, well, I disapprove of whoever's in power, but when it comes time to vote, you're going to vote.
Right. And then these two guys on CNN, they take that little teeny slice and they're like, look at this big move in the GOP. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Well, it is important, right? That independent chunk, like without MAHA, there's a possibility with all the cheating that the Democrats were doing with mail-in voting and whatever. Without MAHA, you might not have been able to have that overwhelming win and get all the swing states. That's definitely a thing. If Robert Kennedy Jr. had stayed on the ballot, he would have gotten 6% of the vote.
When I see numbers like these guys are putting up, what I'm seeing is like, oh, this is the reason and the rationale that you guys need to put out there so that there's always like a hint of a reason why, oh, that's why the vote went the other way. It's like, oh, okay.
Probable believability.
Yes, exactly.
And here's Dershowitz talking about how the Democrat Party is a closed party, man.
Did you say maybe having that wide tent, letting anyone in, and you just said a few names, maybe a mistake for them?
First of all, they don't have a white tent. They wouldn't let me in. They don't have a white tent. They're a totally intolerant party. Many people on the left, look, I taught at Harvard for 50 years. I was the most popular teacher at Harvard, probably brought more students to Harvard than anybody else. Harvard will not allow me to speak at Harvard. That's crazy. Today.
Because maybe they're opening up the tent to the extreme left, really, is where that has gone.
Professor Dershowitz and the Democratic Party are the most intolerant. They don't have a big tent. They have a tiny, tiny, tiny tent. That's why they're so upset with Fetterman. They don't want him within the party. Right. They'd rather see him leave the party. Because he's not falling in line. Don't say you have a big tent when you are the most intolerant group in modern American history.
Yeah, and I do have to say Professor Dershowitz was the most popular professor at Harvard. I was there part of the time.
Yeah, she was there. She took his classes. It was great. But he's right. It's a tiny, tiny party, which, again, one of the things I find with Democrat voters is they often are really uninformed on the issues, but they're like, they follow, like, they have their Kardashians in politics. It's whatever Booty Juice says, or it's whatever, these kind of
they're good soldiers,
popular figures. Yeah. Now, legitimately, this is something that I have concern about. And I think anybody who looks at this particular group has concern about. In the 2024 election cycle, you had a lot of big influencers who try to play the I'm just asking questions, I'm an independent, I'm a game. They're all quote unquote conservative, but at the same time they've got big shows. And so this is, I forget his name. This is John Doyle talking about the retarded right. Okay. And I think this is a really good assessment of what's happening with Trump's base. When I was at the Republican Party on Monday, the guy got up and Trump said, no new wars. What are we doing in Iran? Pretty sure we're in the middle of a ceasefire. We're not in Iran. We're in the Strait.
Right.
Right. We're pulling out.
When people keep bringing that up, what I want to say is, how many boots are on the ground?
None.
Exactly.
There's probably some CIA operatives running around. But
sure.
I mean, where are they not?
What I'm talking about is like, we don't have 20,000 troops somewhere.
No, we're not engaging in nation building.
No.
Right. But that's the thing, hey, prices are high. They were high under Biden. Some prices have dropped. I mean, gas has gone up, but still net average for Trump's term, they're still lower than the average over Biden's.
Do you still believe CPI under Biden was 2.20%?
This inflation will be transitory.
Right.
Come and go. Right. So here he is talking about the retard right. And this is why amongst independents, these independents lean Republican are the people who are listening to Tucker Carlson. It's the people who are listening to Nick Fuentes and call themselves groypers.
The retard right is a large, growing group of people who have managed to create their own kind of echo chamber across Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and they're all kind of like interviewing each other constantly, and they all agree on one thing, whatever their other differences are, which really they're not that significant. But they all agree that Donald Trump has betrayed us somehow and in some way. So we need to do something that amounts to letting liberals win, either by refusing to vote in the midterms, which they announced they don't even care about, actively even voting for Democrats in order to correct our present situation, which is being insufficiently right wing. Right. And of course, you've got your core retard right personalities, your first string. This would be your Candace Owens or Ian Carroll. These people say things that are obviously not true literally all of the time. And so it seems easy to dismiss them. And in fact, we'll get into this later, that they're so easy to dismiss makes the situation they've created even more damaging. However, there's also this kind of like larger circle that's formed around this core group. It will end in like total defeat for us. The outside circle, that kind of like protective nucleus, then jumps in to run defense and say, well, come on, you have to hand it to them because they at least kind of have a point, right? And the outer shell even will go as far as to say, if only the Trump administration or general concerns that are being relayed by the retarded people, then all the support for all the really crazy stuff they're talking about would vanish, and then we could all just live in harmony and we wouldn't have to focus so much on this. Why can't we get along? We're all freaking based, right? You're based. I'm based. We're all saying Democrats win. Then we could all focus on what's really important in politics, which is being based. Okay.
That is with this core that protects the nucleus. Well, they're just asking questions. If we could all just acknowledge that Donald Trump is the Jewish slave president, then we could finally support him with it comes to lowering taxes. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's taxes to the moon, vote blue no matter who. Hakeem Jeffries gets the gavel. And that's the thing. You hope that come up to primary, to general election season, that vote for a Republican, because your vote for your local representative is a vote for who's going to be the Speaker of the House, and the Democrats, they've got that tiny tent when it comes to ideology, but at the same time, they are in the zeitgeist. This is something that's important for us Republicans to understand. We've already lost the battle in a big way. We don't have mainstream media. We don't have ESPN and Disney and Netflix and even Amazon, right?
All the
We don't
propaganda
have
machine.
Huh?
All the propaganda machines.
All the propaganda machine. We don't have Facebook. You have to remember, right after J6, not only did they nuke Parler, like completely gone, but there were over 2 million accounts that were deleted off X. Mm-hmm. These were accounts that had long histories, that had posted all kinds of stuff, just gone. Accounts, because I stopped posting, I think I survived the purge. I also never, ever reposted anything from QAnon, so I survived the purge. Okay. But, Facebook, I'm not on Facebook. I mean, we have a Facebook account. We're streaming there. I don't even know if people watch there. I rarely ever check, right? I have no idea. If there's anybody on Facebook, you should come over to Rumble and let us know that you're watching on Facebook. Might not even be worth streaming there. I don't know. But anyways, like total nuke. So they own the zeitgeist, which is why you have the general election ballots. This is Harry Enton again, basically saying when it comes to the midterms, Democrats are committed to vote. The people that are declared Democrats, the Republicans, not so much.
Oh, my line. Gosh darn it, Johnny B. Just take a look here. I think this is so important. Absolutely certain to vote in November. Look at this. You include Democrats, Democratic leaders. We're talking about 75% of them say those voters are absolutely certain to turn out to vote in November. Look at this. Significantly higher than the Republicans at 67%. That's an 8-point advantage right here. Why is that so important? Because zone out, look at the generic ballot. Who are you going to vote for come November? If you look at Democrats versus Republicans on the generic ballot, among all voters, it's Democrats up by 5. But look at that. Certain to vote, absolutely certain to vote. That lead goes through the roof. There's a 9-point advantage. So Democrats nearly double their lead on the generic ballot because their voters are far more certain to actually turn out and vote this November.
And this changes how you campaign, too. You get these guys, these certain to vote to the polls, as opposed to persuading others. It just changes the dynamic when people say they're absolutely going to show up there. So what has history told us in terms of that party that has the advantage of certainty?
Okay, so this to me is what is so nutter butter, right? You see this Democratic advantage right here? I went back and looked at all the polling I could at this point in the cycle. And what do we see? This is the first time since at least 2010 in which Democrats said they were more certain to vote in the midterm elections than Republicans. You can see that Democratic advantage here. In 2022, it was a Republican advantage. In 2018, it was tied, which of course was the first time that Donald Trump was not really on the ballot, but, was in the minds of voters in a midterm election. It was tied back then. 2014 Republicans, 2010 Republicans. Of course, 2010, 2014, 2022 were all years in which Republicans went on to win the House of Representatives. And this year, extremely different, extremely unusual. Democrats are fired up to a historic degree, and that is why you see their lead nearly doubling on the generic ballot. And of course, we've seen that in the special election so far, where Democrats, of course, have been outrunning Kamala Harris by double digits in all of them.
They took back.
And I think that's important to understand. Is when your party is not in power, you're motivated. And if you look at a map of red and blue across the country, the vast majority of the country is red. So a lot of Democrats feel like they're already in the minority, so they're more activated. Kind of like here, when you talk to Republicans that care about politics, they're more activated, right? Sort of, kind of. Sometimes I wonder how many people are like, I'm independent, so I just don't vote.
Well, in the same way, when you're looking at percentages and coverage across the country, the map might look really red, but that's really low density. When you get to the blue areas, those are very high density areas. So,
yeah. So We the Brandon was on the Redacted podcast, and he was talking about the midterms. Now, I actually have no idea what his political side is. I think I don't know. I think he kind of pretends to be that I'm just a pollster kind of guy. That's kind of the role I see him playing. Right. But he's pretty convinced that the Republicans are going to lose. He thinks they're going to lose the Senate, but they might keep the House because of some of this redistricting kind of thing. But one of the things he says here is the Democrats have an absolute plan on what they're going to do if they can take either chamber. It's going to be coming after Trump and impeachment for all of his cabinet.
I've spoken to several Democrats. It looks like they've got a pretty comprehensive collapse strategy for the administration. As one of my colleagues, former colleagues from the Hill said, all they need is the majorities, and they begin immediately.
Game over.
So, yeah. Game over.
You think both houses
I'm in the outlier. I'm in the outlier. Most professionals are saying no, they'll get the House, but not the Senate. I think they're going to get both.
I just have very little confidence in Democrats to do something like that because they're so feckless.
Well, whether they can actually get rid of or remove Trump from office, yes. I don't know. But I do believe the investigations and recession and impeachment trial alone will be much more damaging this time around than it was the first time. In the first term, the Democrats had nothing on Trump. Whatever people thought about Trump, he didn't really break the law. He didn't do anything that was really catastrophic until the end with COVID. But now there's real problems. He and Hegseth and some of his top advisors are facing. In fact, what I've heard is the first target the Democrats are going to really go hard for is Hegseth. They are assessing that Trump will throw Hegseth to the wolves, which he will, but that'll only begin a snowball effect for the Democrats to continue, coring their way into the administration with investigations.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon, right now on Polymarket, there's literally a front page question as to how long until Pete Hegseth is thrown out of office, or
it's going to be as soon as the Democrats get their majorities. I think Trump's going to feed him to the wolves.
Yeah,
I don't think poor Pete understands what he's being set up for. This is why I've been saying he should not be speaking anymore publicly, but apparently he's committed to this. So
he does think the Democrats are going to win the House and the Senate. I'm the outlier. Everyone else thinks it's going to split. Does that even sound like the reality that we see?
No.
I don't see daylight between Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. Is there a military action that hasn't gone perfectly to plan? Is he really upset about narco boats getting blown out of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? Do they live in this little world where it's like, oh, we're going to get them. Oh, we're going to get... I don't think so.
Is this really what Polymarket is for?
People say Polymarket is better than polling because people are putting money on it.
No.
And I'm like, but the problem is Polymarket is also nihilism amplified.
Yeah.
The other thing is the only people who win on Polymarket are there's a certain basically it's like a certain type of people, and they win over and over and over again. And the reason they win over and over again is because the vast majority of people get like a media campaign. And so they're like, Democrats are going to win. And so the guys who win are the ones who put their money on Republicans.
They know how to game the system, and they know how to game.
In the Kamala Harris Polymarket odds, when she ran, all of a sudden her odds went way up and she was going to beat Trump on Polymarket for a little while. Well, there were some bets that were in the hundreds of millions of dollars that skewed the odds, right? which then made people want to take the other bet. So it's gambling, man. It's so easy.
It's not even gambling though. It's worse than that. It's like it's manufactured gambling, and it's gambling with where you got your fingers on the scales everywhere.
Yeah,
and the other thing is that it can be gamed, like notoriously gamed. So have you seen some of the people that have like gamed Polymarket bets?
Oh, with AI, it's unreal.
Dude, I saw one that was so low tech, it was awesome. This guy, he's like, he bets that the temperature is going to go above, some super norm at some temperature reading station at the airport. And then later, there's camera footage of him out there with a hair dryer, like heating it up
on the thermostat.
And he won like $500,000.
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh, it is very easy to game. And AI also allows people to bet these tiny little margins.
Yeah.
And so they bet like when it's a 97% surety, they'll go like place a bet. And it is very gamed, and AI has made it really bad. And it's gambling at the end of the day.
Right. But then you get CNN guys going, well, on Polymarket, and they act like it's all serious. It's like, whatever.
No, I know. All right. So Donald Trump was asked about the Save America Act and John Thune. And it's just like Indiana. It's just like Indiana not going for the redistricting. You have the ability to determine who's going to win the House. Like the one Republican said on the Indiana state floor, he goes, I don't want to wake up in November and find out that the Democrats won the House by one seat and know that we could have taken two of them away and had a 1-seat Republican majority.
And that was me. Yeah.
That was me. That was us that did that. Like all we had to do was do our little part. And it's completely fair. Listen, look at what Virginia just did. Like there's Republicans that play this. All the Democrats won't do it. Hakeem Jeffries says it's warfare all the time, right? We are gerrymandering everything to death. And they've taken away the whole Northeast, New England, no Republican constituencies. California, taking away Republicans, carving up any kind of red farming district to make sure there's big cities, half of a big city in them that have apartment complexes that are all on welfare and on the take. You know what I mean? And so Donald Trump addresses how John Thune and his inability to act on the Save America Act And whatever senators are preventing him from do that, he's pretty frustrated with.
The filibuster, Mr. President, you posted a lot about wanting to eliminate the filibuster. It hasn't happened. Are you disappointed in leading?
Yeah, no, I'm disappointed. I like John a lot, but he has a couple of Republicans that are foolish people. A couple of them I like, a couple of them I can't stand, actually, if you want to know the truth. Although I am, according to CNN, 100% approval within the Republican Party. That's better than your record. I'm at 100% approval. Did you see the CNN poll? Nobody talks about it. CNN, I think the people that did that poll probably got fired. But within the Republican Party in MAGA, which is basically 100% of the party, I think, but 100%. No, I think that you're going to see some very interesting things. The filibuster, if you had it, we should have the Save America Act. We should have voter identification, voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship. We should have mail-in voting for the military and people that need it, but not for everybody. Because anytime you have mail-in voting, they're going to cheat. And they cheat like dogs. And they have to cheat. In all fairness to the Democrats, when you have men and women sports, when you have open borders, when you have transgender mutilization, don't listen to this, kids, of your children, transgender mutilization of your children for everyone. When you have policies like that, you have to cheat. It's the only way they can win. And we shouldn't allow them to cheat. And we should terminate the filibuster, because if they get the chance, they'll do it in the first hour back.
Filibuster, Mr. President, you posted a lot.
John Thune and Mike Pence and all these Republicans are like, we can win on the issues. We can win on the issues. We don't have to do this controversial thing. I don't want any code pink protesters outside my office door. We don't have to cheat. We can win on the issues. You can win on the issues. In fact, you can create a 1,000-year dynasty on the issues. Conservatism is good governance. Conservatism makes everybody, it's a rising tide raises all boats. Conservatism is not opposed to change. It's in support of what works. Okay? Nothing new under the sun. We know what works. We've seen communism fail from Jamestown when the first people came here and they tried collectivism and it failed. And then they went, okay, you work, you eat. It worked. We've seen the Soviet Union fail. Every time, right? Conservatism wants to conserve what works. It doesn't mean we reject new technology. It doesn't mean we reject something. You know what I mean? But we conserve what works. You can win on the issues. But if you let them cheat, you can't win. Mm-hmm. When you play a game where you don't cheat and they are cheating, and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to talk about the issues. They'll create a media environment. They'll pay the retarded right to go out there and, like Nick Fuentes, I'm a moderate Democrat.
Yeah.
What? I mean, obviously, for those of us to pay attention and understand the issues, we're like, dude, you're not really a Republican. You're just a racist. You're a plantation owner. You know what I mean? Like, you're just a plantation owner. Because here's an example how conservative issues work. If you want to work and make money, if you want to not be on welfare, now I get that there's a larger and larger constituency of people who are like, well, if they'll just pay me, right? But if you want to work, if you want to have a good society, a productive society, conservatism works. In Donald Trump's first term around 2019, we had the lowest unemployment in 30, 40 years, I think ever for blacks and ever for Asians. Like all the minority groups had the lowest unemployment ever. Some of the white guys were still left out in the cold, whatever. You still had a lot of corporate censorship and stuff like that with DEI. Yeah. But right now, this week.
Well, I think they should be hopeful about where we are. This recent unemployment announcement, the lowest unemployment since I was 4 years old in 57 years, I think is a foreshadowing of what's coming. We have a robust American economy. Yes, gas prices are high right now, but that's because the president, I think, correctly decided we had to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon to protect the future of our own country and to protect the safety and security of the world. We can't let Iran get access to nuclear weapons. The president recognized that. So we're going to have to endure a little pain here. But what we've got to remember is we don't have gas lines in this country because the president's policies, his all of the above energy policies, mean that despite the fact that the price of gasoline has been bid up because of what's happening in the Middle East, the supply here, at least in our country, is secure.
The lowest unemployment in 57 years. Hey, did I tell you that conservative policies work? The lowest unemployment in 57 years. Yeah, gas prices are high, but that can be temporary. You know what's really good? You have a job. And Trump is bringing the industries into America, AI, crypto, so that you can keep having a job when the robots take your job. Does that make sense? This is the point. Conservatism works. At the California gubernatorial debates, the Democrats here are like, Trump's making things worse. Trump's making things worse. And Steve Hilton brings up a great point.
Mr. Hilton, go ahead.
It's not Donald Trump who's given us gas prices $2 higher than the rest of the country. It's Democrat policies, which Antonia and all the Democrats here support. It's not Donald Trump that's given us the highest housing costs in the country. It's Democrat policies that all these Democrats support. Donald Trump is the president in all the other states of America where the cost of living is way lower than in California. Obviously, it is way past time for change in California, and endlessly going on about Donald Trump doesn't serve the needs of the struggling families and small businesses.
Can you say whether we could run away with it in the midterms, run away with it in 2028, conservative politicians, if we can stop the cheating? That's it. That's all it boils down to. Pass the Safe America Act. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
It's that simple. Indiana, all those guys, you could have kept your seats. Trump wouldn't have even cared. He wouldn't have been a big bad bully punching down, going after the local dog catcher. If you just would have done the redistricting, if you just would have done that, for whatever reasons that you wanted to leave some Democrats out there, you could cost us everything, and unnecessarily so. Ro Khanna's got some serious problems coming up. He's out of California, Silicon Valley. So this is Kevin Bass. He did a whole bunch of open records research on Ro Khanna, and he has made criminal referrals to the DOJ, to the House Ethics Committee. And this is way too long to go through, but essentially Ro Khanna's got a couple big issues. He's insider trading like nobody's business. So let me tell you the 4 counts that he's got him on. Okay, so let's see. Where's count 1? Okay, so Representative Ro Khanna is a Democratic congressman. Let's see, 6 different things wrong. He's got, number 1, he's got a bunch of family-controlled entities that are all clearly participating in insider trading. No separately managed account, no blind trust, no third-party broker handling stocks. He's got filing trade reports late, so he makes a bunch of insider trading, files his trade reports late when nobody's looking.
Okay.
He's got buying defense stocks right before defense bills pass, where he sits on the committees. Count 2, buying drug company stocks right before drug actions. Count 3 is the same as count 2, except healthcare stocks instead of defense stocks. He's got count 4, Khanna's family trades line up with insider events at the issuer level, same day SEC filings and same day insider trading. So he's using absolutely insider information to get those trades. And count 5, ex-government officials who became lobbyists are donating to him. And count 6, the Ahuya Family Foundation and a missing rental property. They're laundering money through a non-existent rental property that he's got listed. He's got other rental properties that are listed. You have an address, you have a deed, and then you've got this random rental property that doesn't seem to exist anywhere. So these are actually really serious complaints when you go through them. And again, what did Ro Khanna do? He teamed up with Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we definitely got to get rid of insider trading. It's a shtick. It's a shtick, folks. Ron, what do you got for us? We finally gonna read an ad this week.
Yeah, I think we could do that. Let's see.
Do it.
Let's try Trinova. Oh, what? Well, let me try this one.
Nope.
What the heck?
All right. Well, we'll move on here. One more. Oh, okay, we're moving on. Okay.
Here it goes.
There we go.
Oh my gosh.
It took. Oh no! It was a failed read. Oh well, no big deal, folks. All right, so TSA. The Democrats obviously have been playing major obstructionist, right? And one of the things they just did was they did all of the TSA, Coast Guard, Secret Service, Homeland, basically holding up the Homeland Security budget to try to prevent deportations, which to me is like preventing their voters from being taken out of the country and, I don't know, protecting their little districts or whatever they've got going on. Well, there were some serious impacts to this.
As it struggles with staff shortages in key agencies following the longest partial government shutdown in U.S. history. Our congressional correspondent Bill Malugion's reporting live with an update on Capitol Hill for us. Hi, Bill.
Sandra, good afternoon to you. As you mentioned, that DHS shutdown was the longest in agency history. We're talking a total of 76 days. And now we're getting a better picture of what kind of long-term damage that did to DHS. DHS tells Fox News that TSA lost about 1,100 employees as a result of the shutdown. 1,100 people quit. That represents 8% of their overall workforce. And they say it can take 4 to 6 months to train any new TSA hires before they can be deployed to airports. So any new TSA agents likely can't even be staffed in time for the FIFA World Cup and America 250 events later this summer. And the numbers they're expecting are huge. DHS tells Fox News they're anticipating between 5 and 7 million global travelers to come to the U.S. for the FIFA World Cup alone, which they say is the equivalent of hosting 78 Super Bowls in 11 different American cities. In a statement, DHS tells Fox, quote, "For 76 days, we saw Democrats use American travelers and TSA officers as pawns. This pointless, reckless shutdown caused more than 1,100 TSA officers to quit. The Democrat shutdown jeopardized the deployment of vital equipment and services, such as next-generation checkpoint screening technology, putting security and efficiency at risk for the 2026 summer travel season, the World Cup, and America's 250th anniversary." And DHS says the shutdown also had a big impact on FEMA. Critical training for about 45,000 students every week, including firefighters, EMTs, was postponed due to a lack of funding. That includes all classes at the National Fire Academy and Center for Domestic Preparedness. FEMA wasn't able to participate in coordination events such as the National Hurricane Conference. FEMA had to operate with limited system maintenance, software licensing, and cybersecurity monitoring. That ended up impacting systems that support disaster response, grants administration, and flood insurance. And Sandra, it doesn't stop there. DHS says their cybersecurity agency, CISA, lost more than 1,000 employees. That, of course, is we're in the middle of a war with Iran, an adversary that's known to use cyber warfare. As for the Coast Guard, they now have a backlog of 18,000 ships that they have to certify and get back out onto the water. That doesn't even include ICE or CBP, which are both still unfunded as I speak to you right now.
The Democrats did a lot of damage.
But are you worried about the cyber warfare from Iran?
That's all they got left, Ron. They got no more missiles. They got no Navy. It's at the bottom of the ocean. Their Air Force totally destroyed, obliterated. That probably is a pretty significant threat. And it's not just Iran, China, Russia, all of our adversaries. Did you see that banks got hacked? So one of these Claude AI things is kind of an opaque story because they want it to be opaque.
Yeah. So banks get robbed all the time, and they usually don't post those stories because they don't want the
copycats.
They don't want copycats. Exactly.
So someone used Claude and set it to go attack the bank infrastructure, and in like 7 minutes, it found 200 cyber vulnerabilities and hacked into some major banks.
Oh boy!
Like that. By the way, they're still trying to crack Bitcoin. Oh, and the Bitcoin, quantum computer threat, they retracted that paper because they said, oh, we actually didn't even run the experiment. We hypothesized about it. And under criticism, they're like, show us your proof. Show us the proof of work. Oh, no, we were hypothesizing that quantum computers could do this. We didn't even do a proof of concept on it.
Right.
So, but anyways, your bank is protected by a 4-digit hash. They only have to guess up to 9,999 guesses, and they can get your PIN code. So AI can handle that pretty quick. So banks are like scrambling now to like do their, update their cybersecurity because they found 200 vulnerabilities. Humans have had the internet for 30 years now, and we couldn't find the 200 vulnerabilities, and Claude found it in like 7 minutes. So yeah, big deal. Okay, so Iran, this is actually pretty significant. So 2 days ago, Trump started the Operation, Freedom, in order to open up the Strait of Hormuz, and he paused it today. Assuming Iran gives what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts. It will be, sadly, at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So Troy Yanks covers this. Essentially, this is, in the next 48 hours, could end the war. I mean, this is not the first time we thought we were going to get a deal.
Well, this morning, Axios is reporting that a memorandum of understanding could be reached in the next 48 hours that would include 14 points agreed to by both the United States and Iran, among them an enrichment moratorium and also opening eventually the Strait of Hormuz. Now, if this does move forward, it's an indication that progress is being made at the negotiating table. The question is whether or not the Iranians are serious about actually signing this understanding and if it would lead to a firm, broader agreement in the future. Within the reporting that we're reviewing this morning is a 30-day window to reach that broader understanding. Now, the White House has not commented on this report, but this could be one of the reasons why the president is pulling back, at least on Project Freedom right now, again, to allow the Iranians to come to the negotiating table and reach this deal in the days ahead. Well,
Carlite says the Coast Guard does not have the manpower to certify those vessels. It will take years. Yeah, when you get backlog like that. So that's really good news. We've got 48-hour window. They have a memorandum of understanding. Let's see if the Ayatollah signs it and the IRGC. And Iran is really faced with simply two choices here. At this stage, you can resist, which is really their own downfall, or they can make an agreement and they could probably become pretty prosperous pretty quick. I mean, they still do have oil.
Good for them, but ultimately good for the world. The diplomatic path, if there's a real diplomatic path, I'm not sure it's going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat. I know what the right choice is for Iran. I hope that the people over there making decisions will make the right one. The last point I would make, and
yeah. Did I hear correctly that one of the terms of this was a pause on enrichment?
So what they've done is, so they want to have a nuclear power plant. That's been their excuse all along. And Trump has said, if you'll agree not to get a nuclear weapon, we could help you with a nuclear power plant, but you don't get to do the enrichment. So I think what they've said is, let us prove ourselves. Let us get, nuclear power, and we won't do any enrichment for 12 years. Enrichment doesn't necessarily mean nuclear weapon. It means you have a nuclear power plant. I understand that. Yeah. Which, 12 years, that's a long time. That's enough time for them to go, maybe we do like participating in the worldwide economy, and maybe we do like having, international visitors to the ski slopes in Tehran.
Yeah, maybe you guys could just buy the fuel rods from somebody else.
They bought the fuel from somebody. That's the big conspiracy, is Trump wants to go get the nuclear dust so he can do an origin of it and probably prove it came from the Clintons, which is the suspicion that it came from the uranium run deal they cut with Russia. It ended up in Iran. So this is Marco Rubio also saying, to the Iranians, don't test Trump.
Point I would make, and it really is important for them to understand this, is they really shouldn't test the will of the United States, at least not under President Donald Trump. He has proven time and again that he will back up what he says. And if they test him, ultimately they will lose. The hard way, the easy way, the long way, the short way, they will lose. And with that, it's time for your question.
So they're going to lose. It's fait accompli. The bleeding's happening. It's just how long is it going to take to bleed out? So General Raising Cane was asked about something that was a little bit interesting. The allegation all along was the Iranians were putting mines out in the Strait of Hormuz, and this is why Lloyd's of London couldn't allow boats to go. And there's no evidence up till now that there were any mines placed at all. Right?
There's evidence that they did.
There's no evidence that they did. There's no mines that have been found.
Well, I thought you said until now, and it's like, does that mean there is evidence?
No, there's no evidence.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything. But they said they did. They used to have Minecraft, but they all got sunk. And so they haven't found any mines. They have been doing sweeps for these mines. Like, I'm pretty sure the mines were the mosquito fleet, right?
I'm pretty sure the mines was just a bullshit story.
So apparently the U.S. Navy, there's been a lot of suspicion that the U.S. Navy has been using one of our super tools to try to go sniff out these alleged mines.
Are there still concerns about mines in the strait? And can you kind of clarify these reports of kamikaze dolphins that we've heard about?
I haven't heard the kamikaze dolphin thing. Like sharks with laser beams, right? The threshold of restarting is a political decision above my pay grade. What I'll say is it's low harassing fire right now. It feels like Iran is grasping at straws to try to do something across the southern flank. To your question, David, their command and control structure remains very fractured. And I think they're struggling to maintain control down echelon at the edge, but it's still pretty low level kinetics at this point in time.
And I can't confirm or deny whether we have kamikaze dolphins, but I can confirm they don't. Ultimately,
I cannot confirm or deny whether they have kamikaze dolphins, but we don't.
We can't throw him to the wolves.
No, he's too good. He's too good. Some of the stuff, I don't even know what they're complaining about.
I know.
I'm like, what is going on here? So, Donald Trump and everybody should be really disturbed by the Iranian regime, right? The way they behave against their people. It's extremely concerning. And at the same time, you have to sympathize with them because they're unarmed.
Look, he's heartbroken by these images. You think about it. You're an Iranian, okay? You're unhappy that your economy doesn't work for you. You don't have freedom. You don't have an opportunity to express yourself. You've got friends that have been shot in the head because they're out protesting. And it's heartbreaking to him to see that these people are abused in this way and have no measures to take against their own government as a result of it. By the way, this goes back, you guys remember the protests in 2009 where they slaughtered people in the street. This is a vicious regime, guys. Okay, these are people that hang people from cranes in the town square so everyone can see. They continue these executions of people and have continue to do so for over a decade and a half now. And so I think what the president is expressing is the desire that he wishes the Iranian people had an ability to fight back against some of these things that are happening to them. And I would view that as distinct and separate from the specifics of this operation that was ongoing before it concluded, and certainly different from the operation that's going on now.
For people who defend the regime and are like, we have no business being there. Yeah, you're right. The people have to take care of themselves, and it is heartbreaking. But the purpose we're there is not because we're trying to fix that. That's just like, listen, anybody who's justifying their continued existence, like, forget it. But we can protest Robert Mugabe and we can protest Kim Jong-un. But at the end of the day, it's the country is the land and her people, and they get to decide who's in charge, and they consent to it. They acquiesce to it, whether by force or choice. That's the way it is. So the byproduct of this is I believe the Iranian people are going to come out of this a freer nation than they are right now. But at the end of the day, Iran is a threat to us. We've pulled on this string. The elections, the nuclear weapons, the drug and arms trade, the off-books balance sheet for the global banking cabal, all the things that do make your life worse as an American citizen, Iran has their finger in it, along with Venezuela, along with Cuba, and along with China. So as we pull that string, right, we're eventually going to land on Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. They cannot build a nuclear weapon behind a missile shield, and they have to have retribution for attacking our elections and killing our soldiers, all the destabilization in the Middle East. Without exception, every Middle Eastern country has pointed the finger to Iran. UAE, Oman, Yemen, Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, Lebanon, Turkey, Saudi Arabia have all pointed the finger at Iran. The rebel groups in our country, Yemen, that entire civil war, that's not because of Saudi Arabia. That's Iran-backed Houthis, right? Hezbollah in Lebanon, that's Iran-backed Hezbollah. Hamas in Palestine, Iran-backed Hezbollah. Suicide bombers in Iraq, and roadside bombs. That's Iran-backed Iraq. Think about it for just a second. Had Iran and Soleimani not been funding roadside bombs, maybe we wouldn't have been in Iraq for 20 years. Maybe our defensive posture wouldn't have had to be what it was. Instead of going and rebuilding Iraq for a period of time, we ended up continuing to fight in Iraq the entire time. That's a big difference. It's a big difference. In America, yeah, our history is not perfect. Find a country that is. Find a country that is. But what's unique about America is what Marco Rubio says. This is the land of constant and never-ending improvement.
I mean, my hope for America is what it's always been. I think it's the hope I hope we all share. We want it to continue to be the place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where you're not limited by the circumstances of your birth, by the color of your skin, by your ethnicity, but frankly, it's a place where you are able to overcome challenges and achieve your full potential. I think that should be the goal of every country in the world, frankly. But I think in the U.S., we're not perfect. Our history is not one of perfection, but it's still better than anybody else's history. And ours is a story of perpetual improvement. Each generation has left the next generation of Americans freer, more prosperous, safer, and that is our goal as well. But it is a unique and exceptional country. And as we come upon this 250-year anniversary, I think we have a lot to learn and be proud of in our history. It is one of perpetual and continuous improvement, where each generation has done its part to bring us closer to fulfilling the vision that the founders of this country had upon its founding.
And that's just it. When the country wasn't founded, every problem wasn't solved, but we had a blueprint on how to solve it. And ultimately, the duty relies upon we, the people. This is why I'm such a big advocate for each individual going and getting involved at their local county level. TakeBackYourCounty.com and PoliticalRemodel.com. That's the clarion call for every one of us. It's fun to sit here and do the podcast and play the news clips and talk about the controversy of the day. But at the end of the day, the entire purpose of it is so that you are equipped and motivated to go out and do your part. If not you, then who? You can't leave it to someone else. It would be so easy for me. This podcast is like a fraction of what I do every day. It would be so easy for me to just do other things. But I feel it's important. And Ron, I know you share in this as well. Despite kind of some of the personal opposition we have, this is important. We have a message, right? And when I get feedback from the audience members, when I go to the Republican Party meeting and multiple people come up to me, thank you for what you're doing. Keep up the good work. When I get messages from time to time, saying, hey, I listened to your show. Thank you. Sometimes it surprises me, the people that are listening. But here's the thing. We all have to live here. So whether you're a Democrat or Republican, whether you agree with every single little nuanced political view that I share, that's fine. Listen, I reserve the right to change my opinion. Speak up. Let's have a debate. Maybe I will change my opinion. But at the end of the day, I believe in America, and I believe in her vision, and I believe in her people. The country is different than the nation. The nation, the politicians, the rules, they can change. But who changes them? The country does. We do. So go get involved. One of the things that the Chinese understand is that when you can corrupt a country, the nation will soon follow. So Kash Patel, one of his big objectives has been to try to take back our country from who? A lot of foreign nationals that have been buying up some critical assets like farmland.
Why do they want ranch land, farmland, and land near our military installation if they're not trying to spy on us?
Sean, that's just it. That's what they're doing. If you look back at the last year, this FBI has arrested 47% more Chinese espionage actors, to include people that they have co-opted in every branch of the United States military. We are indicting and arresting at least multiple people a month for stealing secrets, providing classified information back to mainland China, and we are imprisoning them, including U.S. Navy sailors. You saw we did to the individual who was just charged in Delta Force.
Right.
And it's not just connected to China, but it's also Russia and other entities as well. But that's how they get their tentacles across the U.S. government enterprise. And so what we're doing is seeking out those bad actors wherever they are, including within the United States government.
And that's a big deal, right? We haven't defended the country. We haven't defended the country very well. So I hope he continues the good work. There's another big, huge breaking piece of news that happened yesterday. So it looks like Fulton County has received a federal grand jury subpoena. Where's Fulton County? It's in Georgia, one of the epicenters of the election fraud in 2020. They apparently responded. So Fulton County responded with a motion to quash the subpoena and failed to file their response under seal, which basically made the existence of the subpoena public. And so this is the subpoena here. They want the Fulton County board to go appear before the grand jury. And then another report came out. The Department of Justice is requesting from Georgia the names of all the election workers. So if you went and were a poll watcher or were an election worker or ran one of those ballot counting machines, they want your name. They want to know who you are. You're either going to get dragged in for a subpoena to testify about what you saw, or they just want to make sure that you were there because they're coming for you. They got the ballots. They're dragging Fulton County in under subpoena to testify, and they want the name of all the election workers. Somebody posted something kind of funny. They said, I bet you Rudy Giuliani's got a couple names. Ruby Freeman. That's huge progress, right? That's huge progress. There's a part of me that in 2020, after I was arrested, wondered if this day would ever come.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the big fireworks show, but I can see they're packing the pipes. They're getting ready. They're getting ready. Another thing happened too. Under Joe Biden, the DC, okay, let me go back in time, how this story personally touches me. So in 2021, when I got arrested, within a week of getting arrested, my defense attorney at the time sent me an email and he goes, I don't know how this will affect your case, but the crime lab, the forensic crime lab in DC got decertified for falsifying evidence, planting evidence, sitting on evidence, and like negligence. There was like 4 or 5 things that they got decertified for, but falsifying evidence and planting evidence, essentially putting fingerprints on shell casings that weren't there, and denying that shell casings and other things or DNA was there when it was there. And they got caught really red-handed. The press release that he sent, it didn't really make the news, but the press release that he sent was pretty dramatic. And he's like, well, normally your discovery would be processed through that crime lab. And he's like, so now I don't know where your discovery is going to be processed. We waited 14 months to get our discovery.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Which, yeah, when people complain about due process rights,
sounds like a plan to me.
So they had to outsource the crime lab stuff to Virginia and Baltimore and some other places. And I'm assuming they got recertified and they have a crime lab again.
Sure.
But along with that,
J6 is over. So
yeah. But along with that, one of the things, the January 6th defendants, we took up the entire court schedule. I mean, it was like, I can't remember the percentage, but it was like 75% of all the court cases going through DC were all, January 6th related. And obviously DC being a federal district, everything has the potential to be a federal crime. They've got a magistrate court and then they have the district court. And, depending on the nature of the crime, you end up in one or the other. But it clogged up the court system. And in order to justify taking up so much bandwidth with January 6ers, they had to be able to tell the public that crime was going down. Now, if you turned on the mainstream news, or if you turned on news every morning in DC, like when I was there, the news was on when we wake up. There's another car shooting, another carjacking. I mean, there was a high profile one where the Secretary of Housing or one of the deputy secretaries was like shot in the face in a carjacking.
Oh,
this was a cabinet member, basically. I mean, it's some really gruesome stuff. And it turned out towards the end, we found out that they were faking crime stats. This became a scandal right in the first months that Trump came into office. They were faking the crime stats, essentially calling a carjacking like small property crime and calling murder assault, and just basically manipulating the stats so that they could have, stuff look good on a report and justify the continued effort and expense going after J6ers. That's my opinion. Well, we had some accountability finally.
Members of the Washington, D.C. Police Department are on administrative leave tonight after an internal affairs investigation into the alleged manipulation of crime statistics. Washington Post reporting they are facing termination. The district police union is welcoming that decision, saying the move marks a long overdue step toward justice and the restoration of integrity within the department. Members of the Washington, D.C. Police Department are on
The Chiron on that says the top 3.
Woo! It was the top. It was the top. Jeez. And Muriel Bowser is accountable to this too. She's the one who gave the directive. So this is a big deal. They made a big stink about it right when Jeanine Pirro came into office. It was like, we are going to take care of this. And they have. And they had to start adjusting crime stats. And then, of course, Trump used that to justify surging troops into DC to clean up DC. Apparently, it's going pretty well there. I mean, apparently, your petty crime and your carjackings are at like all-time lows.
Well, I was going to say something about, Trump's crime stats going down when you were talking about the manipulation of the numbers.
Yeah. Anybody can manipulate the numbers, right? It's good for me. It's good for you. It's good for me. So we'll see. But I think that's good progress. Accountability is always appropriate, especially when you're in those true positions of authority. Like, you can't manipulate crime stats. What? K Bono. Who benefits? Who benefits from that? You do, right? I remember my brother-in-law, he's a police officer in Idaho. And one of the things he told me, this was years and years ago, but he said they elected a Democrat mayor of the city of Boise, or the police chief. I can't remember exactly. I don't remember if it was the mayor, but either way,
whatever.
It kind of came under a Democrat regime. And at that time, again, this is a decade ago or more, could be quite a bit more than that. But he said they had 6 gang units. So 6 pairs of cops that were partners that were basically the gang task force. Okay. And they went out and dealt with street gangs and, presumably a lot of Hispanic gangs and stuff like that. Well, when this officer came into this person came into town, they were going to get tough on crime and they were going to get rid of the gangs.
Okay.
And so what they did was they got rid of 5 of the gang units.
Okay.
So they were left with
I already
one
know
gang
the game.
unit.
I already know the game because now the stats went way down.
The stats went way down because 2 guys can only, there's a certain law of diminishing returns. They can only go after so much gang crime. And so the reporting of gang crime went down, but the incident of gang violence, if you live on the streets, goes way up. If you're running your entire operation on stats, that's the kind of thing you can do to manipulate things really easy. Yeah, I'm going to lower crime. I'll get rid of the guys who enforce it. We won't charge anybody. And then I'll go, look, we got less crime reported this year or less crime charged.
And then I can campaign on it.
I can campaign on it. And meanwhile, you're out there dodging bullets running down Main Street going, man, I'm so glad crime's down.
We're going to give this new sheriff some more tax money.
Yeah. So it's interesting. There's reported incidents and then there's arrests. Right. Under Kash Patel nationwide through the FBI, arrests have gone way up. And reported incidents have gone way down. That's where you want to be, right? And what DC was doing was they were manipulating even the reported stats. They were reporting carjackings as simple theft, like just normal auto theft. Like someone broke into your car at the parking lot and stole it. Well, that's a little bit different of a traumatic experience than having a gun pointed at your face, ripped out of your car. Okay, so this is Sean Hannity, and we'll end at the public side on this. Guys, Hillary Clinton, she might be in the crosshairs.
They didn't go this deep in the weeds as we did. So we can start with Hillary Clinton. Top secret classified information on her servers, which, by the way, I keep hearing rumors, maybe you can confirm this, that information may still exist and we may have a copy. Any truth to that?
We're working on a lot of things.
You're smiling. I don't know. I like that smile. The smile is very revealing, Cash. All right. We'll save that for a different show.
Wouldn't it be interesting if the Clintons actually took a fall? And then at that point, we just have to concede to QAnon. They were right about everything. Okay, guys, let us jump over to private, and we are going to be talking about aliens. We're going to be talking about aliens because this is, after all, a conspiracy show. Despite the fact that we just played nothing but mainstream news all day. Okay? Because honestly, in reality, truth is stranger than fiction when you really lay it all out. All right, guys, we will talk to you tomorrow, and hopefully you guys are all premium subscribers and you're going to stick around.